We know that when we're anxious, we're not regulated. Our emotions are not in control. Now, proprioceptive input can kind of act as a reset button to the brain, which helps release those calming brain chemicals, helps get us into that parasympathetic nervous system, and can help us really get back in control of our emotions. We can, like Rachel just mentioned, we can use it for regulation when we are overloaded. It can help us when we're restless or irritable or agitated, which are all associated with anxiety. So when we're feeling out of control of our emotions, we can use that heavy work to gain that control back. Mm-hmm.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. And this is All Things Sensory by Harkla.
We are both certified occupational therapy assistants, and together with Harkla, we are on a mission to empower parents, therapists, and educators to help raise confident and strong children of all abilities.
On this podcast, we chat about all things sensory, diving into special needs, occupational therapy, parenting, self-care, overall health and wellness, and so much more.
We are here to provide raw, honest, and fun strategies, ideas, and information for parents, therapists, and educators, as well as other professionals to implement into daily life.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey there, welcome to All Things Sensory by Harkla. We're so happy to have you here for another podcast episode today. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. And you know what you haven't said the last couple times we've recorded?
I know exactly what you're going to say.
It's not a unique episode.
I know.
Why haven't we been doing unique, exciting episodes?
This one actually is a really unique, exciting episode, I think. It's very, what's the word? Interesting to me.
Okay.
Hopefully it's interesting to other people too.
Okay.
But it's our podcast. I guess we can talk about what we're interested in, right?
We want. We're going to talk about how heavy work activities help with anxiety, specifically in adults. So this episode is geared towards adults, parents, therapists, whoever you are. If you experience anxiety in any way, shape, or form, then this episode is for you.
Yeah.
I know for me, I experience anxiety sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, not at all. Yes,
of course you do.
Of course. I feel like it's a natural response to fear, and it's a natural response to the unknown. It's a natural part of life is to, if we weren't feeling anxious about things, then I don't know, would life be interesting? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's something that we all experience.
Yeah.
We all struggle with sometimes. What did I hear recently that depression is sadness over the past and anxiety is fear about the future.
Oh, that's a good little.
So I always think about that anytime I am feeling
Yeah.
anxious. I'm like, what am I scared of right now? What am I nervous about happening or not happening? So let's talk about how heavy work activities specifically help with anxiety.
Yeah, so heavy work activities, they use your sense of proprioception. So proprioceptive input consists of compression, stretching, traction, input to the joints, muscles, and tendons. It tells us where we are in space, how we're feeling. It's generally calming and organizing to the nervous system, which is why we like to use heavy work activities to prevent, to improve, to help with anxiety. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk a little bit about why we like to use proprioception and, some of our favorite activities and maybe some different scenarios that you could use proprioceptive input if you are feeling anxious in certain situations, or you could use these with your children, or you could teach these to your friend who maybe is struggling with anxiety on a more consistent basis. But really the goal of this episode is just to teach you the amazing things about proprioceptive input.
Yeah, and I think this is great to use some of these things with your children, with your clients, as well as with yourself, since that's what our focus is on adults today.
Yep.
So the first one, proprioceptive activities help regulate the nervous system because proprioception sends signals to the brain that stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system, which promotes relaxation and reduces anxiety. So when we're not in a state of fight or flight, we can rest, we can relax, we can take good deep breaths. And proprioception heavy work helps us do that.
Exactly. Number 2, proprioceptive input also has a calming effect on the brain. So deep pressure, resistance, chewing, input to the jaw, all of that can release those calming neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and this helps the brain to feel a little bit more balanced and kind of reducing, or hopefully the goal is to reducing those physical and mental symptoms of anxiety. So whether that looks like, working out every day, doing yoga, chewing gum, squeezing a fidget, pushing the tongue to the roof of your mouth, those types of heavy work input is what is essentially going to calm your nervous system and tell you there's no lion chasing after you. You can get this deep input because there is no lion chasing after you. If there was, then you wouldn't be able to get this calming impact, which is kind of where that anxiety puts us in this state of fight or flight. I've got to run away from the lion. It's chasing after me. I can't take a deep breath. I can't get that, deep pressure because I have to run away. So if we can almost like trick our brain into thinking, there's no lion. We're good. I'm able to decompress and, chew some gum, push my tongue to the roof of the mouth, take a deep breath. It's going to organize us.
Now, the next one is that proprioceptive work is grounding and helps increase our body awareness. So anxiety can cause you to feel disconnected from your body, which leads to that overwhelm. Some people describe it as like seeing themselves. They can see themselves outside their body, but heavy work activity really brings us back in because we're getting that input to our muscles and our joints. It's very grounding. It's organizing. So carrying heavy objects, pushing, pulling, walking barefoot really can help bring us back into our body, helps us know, hey, I'm right here. I'm not outside my body. I'm here. I'm grounded. I think the big one here is like grounding to the earth is really beneficial. So taking your shoes off, walking outside on the grass, in the dirt, even on the sidewalk can be really helpful.
The next one is proprioceptive input can help reduce sensory overload or overstimulation to other senses. So it's kind of like the quote unquote cure-all when it comes to sensory dysregulation or sensory overload, because if someone is having kind of an overreaction to vestibular input or auditory input or visual input, if someone's feeling overstimulated, that's when we use proprioceptive input to help kind of counteract that overstimulation. So if you're at a country concert and it's really loud and the loud sounds and the vibration is a little bit stressful for you, maybe like having a weighted vest or something, a stress ball in your pocket that you can squeeze, or having someone push down on your shoulders or give you a really big bear hug, that can kind of help override that sensory overload. It's just a lot of overs. Override, sensory overload, overstimulated, overlooked, overwhelmed. We're over it.
I'm over it. I'm over it all. The next one is that it can help with emotional regulation. We know that when we're anxious, we're not regulated. Our emotions are not in control. Now, proprioceptive input can kind of act as a reset button to the brain, which helps release those calming brain chemicals, helps get us into that parasympathetic nervous system, and can help us really get back in control of our emotions. We can, like Rachel just mentioned, we can use it for regulation when we are overloaded. It can help us when we're restless or irritable or agitated, which are all associated with anxiety. So when we're feeling out of control of our emotions, we can use that heavy work to gain that control back.
Yeah. And the last one here is that proprioceptive input or heavy work can really help improve attention, focus. Generally when we have an anxious mind, we are, we have our thoughts that are racing and we kind of get off topic because we're thinking about what's going to happen on the airplane ride next week when we're traveling, or, what's going to happen at school the next day if I wear this certain outfit, or whatever the anxiety is. we're thinking about that and we're kind of ruminating on that thought. So if we can use some heavy work strategies, it can really help bring us back down to earth, help us focus, help us get organized, and just really kind of alleviate that constant worrying cycle.
Really quick, we want to let you know about our digital course holiday sale happening right now. You can save 20% on any of our digital courses when you shop now through December 23rd. Go to the link below to start shopping. And if you're an OT practitioner, you can earn continuing education through AOTA when you purchase one of our digital courses. Now, some of our favorite strategies, activities, examples of heavy work. My personal favorites are lifting weights and yoga. Those are my two favorites that I do on an almost daily basis. Walking would be another one because when you're walking, you're getting that grounding input, that heavy work throughout your body. So those, I guess that's three. Those are my three favorites.
I would say my three consistent go-tos, well, three, we'll just see what happens. Working out, lifting weights, getting that, resistive training. Chewing gum is definitely an organizing proprioceptive activity that I do every day. Going for a walk, pushing the stroller, being outside. I don't do yoga. I probably should.
Oh, it's so good.
I know. I need more time in my day.
That's fine.
To find yoga.
Yeah, that's great.
But I'd probably feel really great. But yeah, working out, walking, maybe even walking with a weighted vest would be really helpful too, a helpful strategy.
Yep.
Yoga, Pilates, gardening, getting your hands dirty.
There's a lot of research out there that shows that gardening is an amazing tool for anxiety, depression, all of those negative emotions that we feel. Getting your hands in the dirt, having something that's going to grow from the work that you put in. And I think, you're out in nature when you're gardening, you're getting the natural light. If you can do it without listening to anything, no headphones, no earbuds, you're just listening to the sounds in your yard, can be really helpful.
Yeah. And it was definitely a tool that we would use in the clinic setting a lot too, of planting flowers and digging in the dirt and shoveling and planting and watering, and it's a really good therapeutic activity for your clients as well, whether you are working with kids or whether you're working with adults, whoever it is. I was also thinking stretching with resistance bands. That's a great one too. And I just thought of another one that I do on a daily basis, and it's like hanging from a bar, getting traction.
Like a straight arm hang.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a pull-up bar in the doorway of my hallway. And I tell you what, my kid loves that. And we have created a routine in our house that anytime we go down the hallway, we do a pull-up or we at least hang, but we're both progressed to the point where we can do pull-ups, which is super fun and exciting. But I mean, a pull-up bar to put in a doorway is not expensive. You just get it on Amazon, and you have that in your house to use whenever you need it.
We have a thin, full bar thing in our garage. It doesn't take up very much space, but again, it's the kids will hang on it. We'll hang on it, do some pull-ups. If you don't have a bar to hang from, if you can have someone or two people, I don't know, maybe at least one, pull on your legs while you hold on to the table or the legs of a chair, something stable, and do that traction that way.
I don't know if an adult, if I held on to a chair or a table and you pulled my legs, everything would go. I think you need
I don't think we have to pull that hard though. I think we just pull
you're not
a little
pulling
bit.
hard. I guess it would have to be maybe a heavier table or chair.
Yeah.
Ideally with two people.
Someone grabs the hands, someone grabs the feet.
And you're not pulling hard. It's just a gentle
pull and hold.
Hold. Very gentle.
I love it. My kids love it as well, but it's a great strategy. You did it to me the other day.
Was it on Monday?
Yeah. And I really needed it. Yeah.
Some other ideas would be if you're a runner. I'm not a runner. I've tried.
I wish I was a runner.
Yeah.
I wish I was a lot of things.
I know. I know.
One day.
Cycling, biking, walking and hiking. We talked about that. Getting down on the floor and playing with your kids. Even if, you don't have to be wrestling with them.
Just laying on your tummy on the floor.
Yep. And just being on the floor with your entire body. It's very grounding. Using a weighted blanket or a weighted vest. I think for adults, it's like the ruck pack. Is that what it's called? Like a ruck?
I've heard of that. Yeah, it's like a thin, like workout weighted vest. Yeah, it kind of looks like a belt that like straps over your shoulders and around your chest.
Yep. You can use those. The weighted blankets are great. There's adult size weighted blankets.
Yep. Playing a sport. I mean, any sport really. Rock climbing.
Pickleball is very in right now.
Pickleball. I love pickleball. Basketball, tennis, baseball, kickball.
The yellow one that you hit at the net. Spike ball.
Spike ball. I love
That's a great
spike
one.
ball.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Getting down on the floor and crawling as well. Y'all know I am a huge advocate for crawling. That's a great way to get heavy work. Crawling on the floor with your kids, crawling with your partner, with your friends. Just have a crawling race. If your knees get sore, get some volleyball knee pads, get a sock cut off and pad those knees up a little bit. But crawling is a great proprioceptive activity.
Jumping jacks, cross crawls, cross country skis, any of those bilateral movements are really great. Jumping rope is a really good one. Medicine ball slams.
Maybe just having a bag on your back that's heavier, whether it's a backpack or a diaper bag, just, throw a couple extra things in there and just wear that and have that available if needed.
Maybe you could wear like some ankle weights.
Yeah.
Like that's undercover depending on what your pants are like.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, with the styles nowadays, you could probably hide some big ankle weights under those baggy pants.
Yes.
So yeah, you're understanding where we're coming from. Just focusing on compression, stretching, pulling, pushing, resistance, adding little bits into your day. If you are sitting at work, if you're sitting at a restaurant, if you're out and about doing something like a chair push-up or pushing your tongue to the roof of your mouth and holding it.
You know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about food and using food as a form of proprioceptive input. So our jaws can receive a lot of proprioceptive feedback by what we're eating and drinking. So I know Rachel did mention gum. So gum is a great option. Any food that is chewy, crunchy, resistive is actually going to provide you with some really great proprioceptive feedback. So take a look at your snacks, take a look at your meals, and try adding in more, we call them sensory snacks, crunchy, resistive foods, and
smoothies
see what you notice.
With straws. Yeah, all sorts of things.
Yep.
So hopefully that gives you an idea, kind of a place to start if you are struggling with anxiety, if you're struggling with sensory anxiety, if you're struggling just with, regulating your nervous system in general. Try some of these activities. Let us know if they're working, if they're helping. Give us your thoughts and let us know.
Yep. We are on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, All Things Sensory. You can find us there. You can leave us a review, leave us a comment, subscribe, share with a friend.
Yeah. We appreciate your feedback and we'll plan on seeing you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to All Things Sensory by Harkla.
If you want more information on anything mentioned in the show, head over to harkla.co/podcast to get the show notes.
If you have any follow-up questions, the best place to ask those is in the comments on the show notes or message us on our Instagram account, which is at Harkla_family or at All Things Sensory Podcast. If you just search Harkla, you'll find us there.
Like we mentioned before, our podcast listeners get 10% off their first order at Harkla. Whether it's for one of our digital courses or one of our sensory swings, the discount code SENSORY will get you 10% off. That's SENSORY.
Head to harkla.co/sensory to use that discount code right now.
We are so excited to work together to help create confident kids all over the world. While we make every effort to share correct information, we're still learning.
We will double check all of our facts, but realize that medicine is a constantly changing science and art.
One doctor or therapist may have a different way of doing things from another.
We are simply presenting our views and opinions on how to address common sensory challenges, health-related difficulties, and what we have found to be beneficial that will be as evidence-based as possible.
By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or your child.
Consult your child's pediatrician or therapist for any medical issues that he or she may be having.
This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast.
Thanks so much for listening.